Welcome to The Point of View. It's your favorite current affairs show on television. It's on City TV every Monday and Wednesday. My name is Bernard Avle. On The Point of View, we get the right guests. We ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. It's an interactive show which requires you to contribute during the discussion. So if you're watching on television, there's a WhatsApp number on the screen. Get in touch with your views on our topic. And if you're watching on Facebook as well, you can get in touch by commenting on the stream that's downstairs. We have a big debate tonight. In the first budget that Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta presented, he made reference to Ghana's intention to leverage proceeds from its bauxite to get up to $2 billion from Sinohydro in China to develop what he calls priority infrastructure projects. Well, in less than 2 weeks, he's going to present his final budget for Akufo-Addo's term. Where are we with this bauxite project? I have some very interesting people to discuss this matter. Stay with us. So we have 4 questions to answer today. First question is, so what at all is this bauxite that we want to leverage with proceeds from? Where is it located? That question will be answered by Dr. Alolo. He is the technical economic advisor at the Vice President's office, Dr. Mutaka Alolo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We would also try and understand the environmental implications of this project. And I have the Deputy Executive Director of a very vociferous think tank and civil society organization, AROCHA. He's in the person of Darryl Bossu. Darryl, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And on the financial side, some people are wondering, how much bauxite are we going to produce to merit the amount of money we are hoping to get? What time frame are we working with? And can Ghana afford to pay for it? Boakye is the Chief Executive of the leading energy think tank in Ghana, the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Ben, great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant stuff. And of course, you can also ask questions about the infrastructure projects, because in the past few weeks, we've been focusing on roads. And if I look in the budget for last year, I have over 15 major roads that have been earmarked for this Sinohydro project. So it's a big deal. So Doc, let's start with you. Straight first question 1. What is this Sinohydro thing? And where are we with it?
Okay. Thank you very much, Bernard, for having me and my good friends on the show. And good evening to you and your listeners. I think it's very important that we really understand the nature of this entire Sinohydro transaction that we've been talking about for the past years. Mm-hmm. As we can tell, as a country, we've been mining bauxite since God knows how long. I think since 1921. We've been mining bauxite and shipping the raw bauxite out of the country. And there have also been on the table plans to develop an entire integrated aluminium industry, I think since the 1960s. And this is evident in records everywhere. In fact, with the building of the Akosombo Dam, the plan was laid out. That was why Valco was built around that time, tied in with that. This has been on the drawing board since the 1960s to have an integrated aluminium industry so that we can benefit from the entire value chain. But previous governments since that time have not really been able to materialize it, to make it happen due to several reasons. So His Excellency the President, when he was sworn into power, made the commitment that he is going to take a bold step and make sure that we achieve the entire integrated aluminium industry. In fact, reason why it is even very good and important to achieve this industry is if you look at the value chain, you just mine bauxite. Bauxite price on the market is between, let's say, $30 to $45. You can get it depending on when. I mean, it fluctuates, but it's quite low. You refine it into alumina, you are looking at between 300 to 400 or 450. You go into, you smelter, that is Valco. When you smelter it to aluminium, then you are looking at 1,800 to 2,000 plus.
So 30 to 45, if you refine, you move times 10 to 300 to 450.
Exactly.
And then when you go into smelting, that goes into another times 4.
You are looking at 2,000 there, about $2,000 per metric ton. And when you, in fact, when you go to the downstream, it's about $6,000 per metric ton.
Wow.
When you go to downstream. So that's the entire value chain. So if you look at this and the impact of developing this industry on the economy. It's like the biggest, largest industry that we can ever develop in this country.
Bigger than gold.
Bigger than everything.
Cool.
That you can depending on how you look at it. I mean, if you develop the industry as we have looked at it, the entire integrated aluminium industry is like, it will be the biggest single investment that we could do in this country. You can do same thing with cocoa, you can do same thing with gold, but His Excellency's focus is on bauxite because it has been mined for a while. Gold, we have given a lot of concessions out. When you look at bauxite, in fact, we have 3 major sites for bauxite in Ghana. We have the Ninahini, we have the Awasu, and we have the Chebi. That's the Ituwa forest.
Ninahini is in Ashanti.
It's in Ashanti.
Awasu is in the western region.
The western region. And
Chebi is in the eastern region.
Chebi is in the eastern region. So, and if you look at this large deposit, since the 1920s, we've been mining only one site, that is Awasu. And in fact, at Awasu, we have 5 hills, and we've been mining only 2 hills since that time. 3 hills are untouched. Ninahini and Chebi, they haven't even been touched at all. So these are bare bauxite that is lying on the ground.
But they are proven reserves.
They are reserves that are being proven. They are being proven. There are reserves that we know, but it's been proven.
Okay.
No. Yeah, so we have these reserves. In fact, when you look at Awasu, the Chinese, they've been mining there. I mean, they took over from different people, but they have been mining there. Their lease ends in...
This Ghana Bauxite Company.
Ghana Bauxite Company. Their lease ends in a couple of years. And in fact, government doesn't have intention of just renewing concession for people to mine. So bauxite brings an opportunity to help the country benefit from an entire value chain, as I have elaborated earlier on. So that's what His Excellency the President has committed to doing. And he has set up Ghana Integrated Development Aluminium Corporation, a body, GIDEC, a body that is mandated to oversee this. In fact, the first aspect of the bill of GIDEC was drafted in 2008.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before the MPP government.
So this was a draft.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. The first elements of it was drafted, but it didn't. There was a change in government. It didn't see the day of light, and we have wasted about 8 years that we could have used to develop this entire industry. But His Excellency has come, and he's committed to developing this industry. So that is why he set up the Ghana Integrated Development Aluminium Corporation as a focused entity to make sure that this entire value chain is achieved for the entire country to benefit, not just to give mining license to one person to go and mine irresponsibly and all that. And on the back of that, we have realized that the infrastructure deficit of the country is humongous. We have a lot of, and we cannot just, the resources to develop the infrastructure is not readily available. You need to be strategic, and you need to come up with new ideas or innovative ways of developing the infrastructure. So His Excellency the President, as he is committed to developing this entire bauxite or integrated aluminium industry, in fact, it is part of the plan that in the next 5 years, as this bauxite industry is developed, there shouldn't be raw export of bauxite out of the country. Everything should be refined in the country.
As we speak, the bauxite that we produce at Awasu, what happens to it?
It's been shipped out of the country.
So we don't have a bauxite refinery?
We don't have a refinery. We have the bauxite reserves, huge reserves, and we have the smelter, that is Valco, which was built alongside Akosombo Dam during that time. So the vision was there since then, but the middle aspect of it, which is the refinery, is missing. We have not had for all these years. So they export the raw bauxite. Then Valco will go outside there to buy the alumina and import it back to refine. Whilst we can have the entire value chain and benefit from it, you can see the jobs it will create, how it will...
So this deal you are striking with Sinohydro...
So I'm coming to that.
We don't have... I want to just be quick. Yeah. So you are going to exploit raw bauxite from not just Awaso,
right,
but from Chebi and Yinehin. You are going to set up a refinery to refine it.
Right.
And then you are going to smelt it with Valco as the smelter to increase the value from 30 to 40 USD per whatever to almost 2,000.
Right.
This is the idea.
And
then you are going to use
the downstream.
So the 2 billion that you are getting from China, you are borrowing it on the basis of the proceeds from smelted alumina.
So when you look at the 2 million transaction that we have with Sinohydro, we need the infrastructure now. I mean, we need the infrastructure from now to a certain point of time. But we also have plans to develop our integrated aluminium industry. So we say, okay, give us this value, 2 billion worth of infrastructure, at least from now to a certain period of time. And when our integrated bauxite aluminium industry is fully set, we will pay from the receipts of the refined bauxite. That is either aluminium, or even the downstream.
Okay.
So it is not tied to just one aspect of the value chain.
So if the refinery takes 10 years to build, you can still say the raw bauxite can start paying.
The raw bauxite can start paying.
I get you.
If the refinery takes 10 years to build, you can also still say that when Valco is retrofitted, there will be some revenue generated from Valco that will start paying. So it's a very well...
So you are giving yourself 3 payment lines.
Yeah, we are giving ourselves 3 or even more, because there's a downstream industry as well. So it's like 4 payment lines, if I may say. So that's entire structure. There are several lines that comes out of it to be able to service. And actually, Sinohydro is just 2 billion. We are looking about over 400 billion worth of industry.
Over what period?
Over the period of when the entire industry is set up. Like we have the mine, we have the refinery, we have the smelter, and it will be in different capacities.
When do you expect Sinohydro to deliver all the $2 billion of projects?
It's a process. So you see, we signed a master facility project agreement with Sinohydro that we want 2 billion worth of projects. And out of the 2 billion worth of projects, we are going to phase it as and when we'll have capacity to, we're going to phase it. Also considering the fact that we have to repay with the proceeds from bauxite. So in fact, we did not really say that we are getting 2 billion worth of projects from Sinohydro today. That is why in the first place, when we're going to Parliament, we didn't take 2 billion worth of projects. We signed a master project facility agreement of 2 billion. But we went to Parliament with 646 worth of projects. That is the first phase of the project.
646 million.
646 million worth of projects.
How many roads under that lot?
There are 10 lots, but different roads. When you come to Accra, you have different roads in different areas.
When you say 10 lots, 10 lots under 646?
And we group them into lots. Lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, up to lot 10.
So how many roads are in lot 1?
In lot 1, we have... I can't tell the exact number of roads, but there are so many roads. Lot 1 is Greater Accra Inner City roads. In fact, I have the information that I can share with you. The lots are in 10.
10 lots.
The lots are in 10.
So the 646 million that you signed with Parliament,
right.
How many roads is it going to cover?
It's going to cover roads in about 8 countries, but the roads are... 8 regions, or yeah, about 8 regions. But the roads are so many that I can't keep it in my head.
I have the roads here, that's how I'm asking. Don't worry, I have the roads here. You have everything.
You have the information that you can
So let's just be clear. 646 is the first one. 646
is the first phase of project.
When do you hope to sign the second phase?
We are still working on it.
Great.
It's a process.
You've given us enough information for now. Just relax.
Okay.
What's your problem with this project? Because you've been making a lot of noise. You've been demonstrating. You've been doing all kinds of things. You put a billboard in front of the Jubilee House.
Yes.
That we shouldn't mine bauxite at Tiwa Forest. What's your problem?
Thanks, Bernard. So I think it's a good opportunity to discuss these issues, and also we extend our greetings to all viewers. So technically, we don't have a problem with this project.
Okay.
Actually, we think that as a country, if we can exploit our resources for development, that is the way to go. Our main concern has been the kind of analysis and also the trade-offs, considerations that has influenced the decision governing this particular deal. So in actual fact, we think that going for our bauxite is good. The government needs to sit down and ask ourselves, the fact that we need bauxite doesn't mean that we go digging it everywhere.
Okay.
That has been our concern.
Good.
Because there are several areas, like he said, in our Wasu area where mining is going on. I'm sure when they started that project, they must have done an analysis to know that, okay, there's some collateral damage as a country we can really withstand, afford. But what about places like Yinehine? What about places like Atiwa? And the reason why we have been very much loud about Atiwa has been the fact that if you take Atiwa, if you take all the sites, Yinehine is considered, if you look at the balance of ecology is known as what you call an upland ecosystem. The same categorization you have for Atewa Forest Reserve is also an upland ecosystem. But Atewa stands uniquely amongst all of these areas because it is one location, even though you have bauxite there, is also a source of water for a lot of people. 3 regions. So yes, the roads are going to cover so many regions. It's good that this is coming. But again, the forest is providing very critical ecosystem services, which is water here. And there's nothing you can do to actually replace water when it is lost. The best we came to trying to provide water for our people is to build that state-of-the-art osmosis factory somewhere around Labadi area or Dungwa to process seawater into drinking water. Atewa is Ghana's own natural climate or natural water system that is providing water for people downstream. So the people in the eastern region, I would say, are benefiting from that. And we also here in Accra are benefiting from that. If you take the way all the way to the central region, they're also benefiting from that. So this is 3 regions. And for us, in as much as we agree that the project is very useful, the government should do a very good and critical trade-off analysis. And if you do that analysis, Atewa is one place we cannot afford to mine.
At all?
At all.
Irrespective of what method we use?
Irrespective of what method. It is one area we cannot afford to mine.
What method do they use at Awaso? Do you know?
Yes. We have had a chance to visit Awaso. We've seen is actually what the method you see all over the world when it comes to strip mining.
What?
Strip mining.
Strip mining?
Yes. So what they actually do is that process involves the complete removal of the forest vegetation. That's the tree vegetation. When that is done, then they actually start scooping away the bauxite. So the bauxite is actually that soil right after the substructure.
How far is the bauxite below the substructure?
Depending on where you find yourself, it could be lying, say, 20 meters right above the topsoil, or it could be much less.
So you clear the vegetation.
You clear the vegetation, everything
and
else,
then
you scoop it away.
You scoop?
Yes. So you might have a mountain, a peak, but the bauxite is what you're actually going to scoop away. So
and
you
what will be left when you scoop it?
Where you end up with a plateau, you no longer have a mountain, you end up with a plateau, a flat top hill. That's basically what you have. So it means that
you're saying this method, strip method, is what is used everywhere in the world? For
most of bauxite mining anywhere in the world, there is no technology that is rather, I would say, evasive where you can go dig underground. Because the thing, the bauxite as it is actually that laterite soil, which needs to be taken, washed, processed to get all the various components.
So there's no invasive way of doing it?
No.
So, Dr. Alolo, you are going to clear the forest and you are going to scrape the topsoil to get the bauxite. But this is in a Tiwa forest. Okay, before, you don't have a problem with Nyinehin. Your problem is the Tiwa forest, because Tiwa forest provides water for 3 regions.
Well,
Nyinehin doesn't provide water for anybody.
It provides water, but you see, like I said, we don't have a problem with the project. But as a country, we need to use our resources judiciously. Within ourselves, we sat down and asked ourselves, what is acceptable damage? Okay? And if you look at Yinehini, one other thing we need to understand by Yinehini is that Yinehini is a forest reserve, which is also classified as production forest reserve. So for a long time, some parts of it have been exposed to felling activities, and also already when they gave a concession out, I would say some earlier agreement concessions to Eston Cubic, some activities of removal of bauxite, at least some earth happened over there. So Yinehini is already exposed to some level of degradation. Atewa, on the other hand, is what you call a protected forest reserve. And by a protected forest reserve category, you are not in any way allowed to do any extractive industry. Categorically, administratively, that is what it is. So this is already a clear...
So this is a clear difference. So yeah. In terms of, if you are 100% of bauxite, what percent are you getting from Awaso, from Yinehini, and then from Etiwa? If you could give me a rough estimate of your expectation.
As in...
so if you're getting 100 pieces of bauxite,
right.
What percent are you going to depend on Yinehini for? Percent will depend on Awaso for, and percent will depend on Etiwa for?
I think I may even have the record here.
To give us a clear sense of what is the level of bauxite demand for Etiwa in comparison to, say, Yinehini and Awaso?
I don't have that information.
Rough figures.
I mean, I have it. I think Yinehini and Awaso are bigger than... Yinehini and Chibi, that's Etiwa, are bigger than Awaso.
So Awaso is pretty small.
Awaso is pretty
so
small.
Ashanti and Eastern bigger than
Bigger
Western?
Than Western, yeah.
Between Chebi and Yenehine, which is bigger?
I think Yenehine is bigger. Yenehine is bigger.
You're sure?
Yeah, I think so. I think Yenehine is bigger.
So if you said, I'm coming, basically, if you said you were not going to do anything at Chebi.
I can provide the figures on that. So
Yes.
for Yenehine, it's close to about 1 billion tons of bauxite, metric tons of bauxite.
Yenehine?
Yes, that's for Yenehine. And
Awaso?
then in Chebi area, close to about 180 million tons.
Oh, okay. So he's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
so Yenehine is
right.
bigger.
So 1 billion for Yenehine, 180 million for
Yes.
Chebi. What about Awaso?
But I think
Awaso,
our
I
estimates
cannot-
are even
yeah.
more conservative as compared to what you have just
really?
put out. Yeah,
So it means you can do without
our
Chebi.
estimates are even more conservative.
Exactly.
That should even tell you how much
just
we
be
have.
so it means that if you are getting 1 billion from Yenehine and 180 million from Chebi, it means that you depend more on Yenehine than Chebi.
Bernard, the bauxite mining for Chebi and Yenehine is not going to start today or tomorrow. It's a process. And like I said, it's a process that is going to happen in the near future. Processes have started. There have been a lot of stakeholder engagements, and I'm happy that there have been a lot of stakeholder engagements. Come on,
Has he been invited to any of
they
them?
have been met twice. Giadec have met you guys, your organization.
That is not a meeting. That is not a meeting.
But
Don't
what
say
was
what
it?
you are saying.
But
No,
what was
You've
it?
not been formally engaged on this.
Have you never met them?
It's actually been a proactive effort on our part.
But they have met
You've not been
you.
invited.
No, at all.
No. But that's not. You see, you have met them. And it's a process.
What method will you use to do the mining at
You see, there's a
Yenehine and Awaso?
Bernard, there's a process ongoing now. I can't sit here and tell you the method we'll use at Yenehine and Awaso.
He says there's only one method used everywhere. It's called strip method. What method are you contemplating to use?
There is an ongoing process, an internationally ongoing process that we're going to engage strategic partners. So, and there's a lot of stakeholder engagement that will go on. It has started and it will continue. I'm reliably informed that Giadec has met them and they have discussed some of their concerns.
The man is sitting here, say he hasn't met anybody.
But they have been. He just said they have met them, but it was their proactiveness that led to the meeting. However, the meeting was.
It's important.
But however the meeting was, there has been a meeting.
But you can meet me and say hello. I disagree with everything you're saying. But that's a meeting. What do you mean by they've met them?
It's a stakeholder engagement. And like I said, the mining hasn't even started. The process.
But if the mining has started, I will invite you here because we'll be fighting.
But the process is ongoing. A lot of stakeholder engagements will be done. It has already started, as he has kind of confirmed that they have been met. They will be met severally. All concerns.
So what is government's position?
Will be addressed.
What is government's position on the concerns they've expressed about strip mining and the forest reserve at Etiwa being a protected forest reserve?
Those are concerns. Those are concerns that will be addressed when we meet them. I believe that.
I thought you already met them.
No, we've met, but the consultation is still ongoing. It's not concluded. It's still ongoing. Government hasn't even decided that we are mining this capacity in Etiwa or this capacity in Awaso. So for all you know, you could come up with a plan that all their concerns, Atiwa will be mined, and all their concerns will be addressed. So
you are an economist.
So there's no problem.
Does your scenario analysis include or contemplate a possibility where you can still deliver the bauxite, refine it, get the alumina without Atiwa? Do you have scenarios where Atiwa is not involved?
We have several scenarios, and they are all considered. We have scenarios that we consider even if we don't mine the 3 hills at Awasu, if we mine this capacity at Yenehine, if we mine this capacity as Atiwa. So we have different scenarios. We have enough deposits.
So you have a scenario which contemplates nothing happening at Atiwa?
We have all those scenarios.
You do?
We do. We have all those scenarios.
Will we still get the 2 billion in that scenario?
The 2 billion is just a fraction of the entire value chain, like I've said. If we develop the value chain, we are looking at over 400 billion. And 2 billion out of that is just a minute part of it. So it doesn't affect it, regardless of... In fact, even with the reserves that we have, and with the time frame for the investment to take, we won't even exhaust all our bauxite reserves.
Okay.
So all this will come into the final agreements that will be signed with...
You see, the reason we are pushing is you've already stated the amount of money you expect.
Right.
From either the raw or the refined or the smelt.
Right.
So if we're asking about scenario planning and what percentage you hope to mine, these are legitimate questions. You can say discussions are still going on.
Yeah.
I'll take a break. You've answered 2 questions. Question 1 is, how far have we come? Question 2, environmental.
Yeah.
Now it comes to go look at the numbers. because he's also sharpening his pen to analyze your numbers for you. This is the point of view. We're talking to the economic and technical advisor to the Vice President, Dr. Mutaka Alolo. We're also here with Darryl Bossu, who's the Executive Director Deputy for AROCHA. And we have Boakye, who has also done his calculation, and he thinks that government needs to get a few things right if this project is to work. We'll talk to him after when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Point of View. We're trying to understand government's intentions to deliver up to $2 billion worth of projects. That's almost 12 billion cedis worth of projects under the Sinohydro deal. We're discussing that with Dr. Alolo Mutaka, who's the Technical and Economic Advisor to the Vice President. We have Darryl Bossu, who's the Deputy Executive Director of AROCHA. Now let's bring Ben Boakye in. Ben, great to have you on the show.
Happy
so
to be here.
ACEP did a presentation a few months ago and questioned some of the assumptions government made and raised a few red flags. What have been your concerns about the plans to leverage our bauxite resources for $2 billion worth of projects?
Yeah, I'm grateful to be here, Bernard. I think there is a bit of misconception about the conclusions that we came to. And we had news items saying that government cannot pay $2 billion. I mean, that would be downplaying the sovereignty of Ghana to say that Ghana cannot pay $2 billion. But what we actually did say is that we looked at the numbers and clearly showed that if you were given $2 billion today on the back of bauxite, there's no way you're going to be able to pay with Ghana's
if we're giving $2 billion today,
yes,
on the back of bauxite, there's no way we're going to pay.
We were not going to, the analysis pointed to the fact that we're not going to be able to pay. And we looked at the numbers. I mean, we agree with government that we need to add value to our bauxite. We've been mining for several years, decades, and the way to change things is to ensure that we add value to that. But it has to be pointed out clearly. And I heard Mutaka talking about, Dr. Alolo talking about the fact that if you add value, you get X amount. And it can go as much as $6,000 downstream. That looks quite idealistic and avoid a lot of the facts that associates with the aluminium industry. Cost is a very essential component of the industry. And in fact, it is the biggest component of the industry. If you refine bauxite to alumina, we've checked the cost profile of some of the big companies in the world, and it averages about 80% of the value. So transforming it from $32 or $30 to $300 or $400 alumina, you are accounting for a cost of about 80% of that. So what you have, the margin you have, if you're looking at offsetting your $2 billion or offsetting any other investment, you are looking at the margin. So that is an operational cost. You understand? So you don't point the rosy picture that, you know, alumina costs X amount. If you refine it further to get aluminium, you're getting almost $2,000 per ton. And forget the fact that to refine a ton of bauxite from Vaco, you need about 16 megawatts of electricity. To be able to do that. Yeah, per ton. 16 megawatts per ton of power. That is how much you need. So that is about $260 to refine a ton of aluminum. So the cost is really substantial. So if you scrape that cost off, you still don't have the kind of money that is being thrown at us. You get a benefit of integrating, creating jobs, and all of that, which is good for economic takeoff and all of that. But if you take a loan and say that I'm going to pay the loan, you have not talked about the cost of investment. Because if you want to refine a bauxite into aluminum, for example, to be able to do about 2.5 million tons, you need about $1 billion investment to build a refinery. That hasn't been mentioned in this whole conversation. So who is going to bring in that money to do the refinery and then offset that cost and still make profit for you to go and pay Sinohydro? So these are the questions that we want addressed so that we have a clearer picture of what we are talking about. We know exactly what we are pointing to as a country. And the reality is that the aluminum industry is not gold industry. It is not cocoa industry. There is no comparison in those when you talk about the numbers and beneficiation along the value chain. You know, so the cost of processing and turning the raw earth into aluminum is quite huge and significant.
But he pointed out that their revenue streams are 3 or more.
Yeah.
They can sell the raw bauxite, they can sell the refined bauxite, and they can sell the smelted. So the money is being, or the projects are being delivered on the basis of revenue from either bauxite unprocessed, refined bauxite, which is 10 times the value, or smelted, which is another 4 times the value.
Let's break it down. So this is what we did. We took the initial conversation. There isn't much data about how much they are going to produce. Yeah. So we picked a conversation from the numbers that they were mentioning, the chief executives were mentioning, and we saw numbers like 5 million tons per annum, because we're going to move from 2017's 1.4 million tons to 5 million tons. So clearly, if you're producing 5 million tons and you want to ship the bauxite raw, how much are you going to get? The interest of government in the aluminum bauxite production is royalty and participating interest. We're doing that the same. So you have benchmarks to be able to do that. We're doing 1.4 million tons. How much did we get? Less than $2 million a year.
So if you do 5 million.
So if you do 5 million, you are doubling it essentially, or maybe $3 million. That is not enough to repay $2 billion.
So you definitely have to refine
produce
a lot more.
A lot more. And that, to get the volume, that will be able to offset the repayment of a $2 billion loan. Then you're doing in excess of 80 million tons.
But this guy just said we have 1 billion possible reserves at Ninehin alone. And then he said for Atiwa, we have 180 million.
Our estimate is about 750.
Yeah, so,
but those are very conservative estimates.
Okay, let's assume you are doing 500. If you are doing 500 million tons.
No, that is your reserve. Yes. You're not going to produce all of that in a year.
You can't.
So you have to look at the volumes that you can possibly produce. Okay? And we've seen the port infrastructure. Maximum we can do about between 12 million tons and 18 million, and based on Eston Cubic's estimation, up to 12 million and 18 million tons per annum. That significantly still falls short of what you need to be able to repay that kind of loan.
So you don't see any scenario, because on the basis of our port capacity and our production capacity and our reserves, that we can make enough revenue in even 10 years to pay back the 2 billion?
No, the analysis we did, we even offset the possibility of even repaying the investment, the cost of the refinery, the cost of the smelter, and all of that. Even if you offset all of them, what you are taking, you can only add the recurrent expenditure, which is the operational cost. If you add the operational cost and assume everything else is profit.
How many years did you use?
So we used 11 years, straight line, which is the amortization period for most of these projects. About 11,
and you still didn't see any scenario
within that period.
We can
there is no scenario that pays 2 billion. Hey. And these are the numbers that ought to be available, where they are getting the numbers from, so that people can actually look into these numbers to say that if somebody puts up a refinery and assume that even the refinery will be put up by government itself, so then nobody pays for it. But even the 2 billion, we are not seeing part of that going to build a refinery. We are not seeing part of that buying the the technology that is required to even dig the earth to be able to produce the bauxite. There is nothing wrong.
What if we don't do a refinery? We just produce raw bauxite. We retrofit Valco. Valco buys back
and even
the refined and does the smelting. So that Valco plus raw. Did you consider that scenario?
Valco has its own challenges, which also has to be analyzed. And we've done that in our paper. Okay? So you have a Valco that is making losses at this point. Okay? Valco is smelting at 16 megawatts per ton today. The most efficient plants, which are the current generation of plants, are doing 13.5 megawatts per ton. So the excess of almost 3 megawatt per ton is huge. That's over $40 million per annum of loss just by using the power consumption difference. If you put that one aside and you come to the electricity tariff in Ghana, the average tariff for aluminum industry is about 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So for Valco to be efficient and produce at a rate of an efficient plant, you have to reduce the cost of power for VACO and also retrofit it, okay, to reduce the cost of power and also reduce its power consumption. So these two things, if you're able to pump money into VACO, you'll be able to bring raise its efficiency to 13.5 or closer.
Wow.
And having done that, now you want to reduce the tariff from 5 cents. They are now being given tariff of 5 cents per kilowatt hour.
3.5. It's not 5.
Currently?
It was 7.5. In fact, prior to 2017, now it's 3.5.
No, it's still live on their website of how much they're buying power.
It's 3.5. Maybe the website hasn't been updated, but I can tell you on authority, from 2017, VACO has been buying power for 3.5 instead of 7.5 they were getting prior to 2017.
Regardless, so if you work that into VACO's present, the last report I saw of VACO, and we can put that up, they are still making some serious losses. But you are saying VACO will be retrofitted with a lower tariff for their power. But even with that, even if it's 3.5, will VACO be able to?
They have to inject capital to bring its efficiency down, to make it more efficient, to compete with any alumina, current new alumina plants that are available. So that also needs capital injection. And these numbers are not coming out clearly on how you're going to meet all those commitments.
Depends on where you look at it.
And who is paying for the subsidies?
Who is paying for the subsidy? If you're going to reduce electricity tariff. So, because now, mind you, VACO, even if they are buying at 3.5, they are only doing one port line.
So
if
the
you
VACO,
put them on full
just a quick point on VACO. So if you read what the finance ministry says about VACO, it says there was no economic basis to run the VACO smelter in the years under review due to low operation of the 20% of the smelter install capacity, as this was way below the economic quantity level of production. And then it talks about why VACO has been struggling. Insufficient and erratic power supply, globally uncompetitive power price, sluggish performance of the London Metal Exchange, increase in depreciation from $1.8 million in 2014 to 11.4 from 2015, following revaluation of the company's fixed assets. Diseconomies of scale, as the 200,000 TPA nameplate capacity could only get power allocation to operate one of the 5 port lines. So this job was done in 2017. VACO looked like it was a goner.
We looked at all this.
But they're saying they're going to retrofit VACO. So let's come back to you, and you can take this book. So he doesn't see any scenario under which you can pay back the 2 billion. He first deals with the volume of production of ore. Then he deals with the cost of refinery. That's number 2. Then he deals with the state of VACO. Right? Can you address that in 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
Maybe
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So level of production.
Yes. So I think I just got a chance to kind of read through ACEP's report on my way here.
Yes.
But in fact, just glancing through it, my conclusion that their recommendations, their analysis is kind of flawed, and their recommendations is kind of hasty. Because why do I say so? ACEP did a report and say government will not be able to. Okay, sorry. No, I mean, Ben has corrected that wasn't their conclusion. But in fact, looking into
you read it, so you didn't see it.
No, but in your conclusion, you inferred it, and you've just said it as well here that you don't see any scenario that we will not, government will be able to pay. So
from bauxite, from bauxite, alumina.
I want you to address.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I said the analysis was kind of
based on level of production, cost of refinery, and state of VACO.
Their conclusions were hasty because they based these assumptions on the fact that government is getting $2 billion of infrastructure today. And like I've said earlier, we have signed a $2 billion worth of infrastructure with Sinohydro. And we are going to implement this in phases. We have signed an agreement that gives us a 3.5 years moratorium. And even under that agreement, we have different projects that comes on stream at different times. So your repayment obligation does not start from the day you start the master project support agreement of 2 billion. That is no. That is wrong. In fact, even the 646 million worth of projects that we took to Parliament, 4 projects have been fully approved. We've got financial closure. The projects are starting. Those projects, they start and their repayment obligations start 3.5 years from that time. So until the remaining 6 lots that are in phase 1 kicks off, repayment obligation does not start, not to even talk of phase 2. So you have 3.5 years now. What is due for repayment is only what has started, not the entire 2 billion. So if you make analysis and generalize it that government, you don't see a scenario that government will be able to repay this in so and so years. It is wrong.
Oh,
And in
but
fact,
you didn't have a staggering plan for those projects.
No, but that's what I've
have a
just.
staggering plan.
That's what I have
When
just.
are the projects kicking in? Let us know the time
That's
frame.
what I have. In fact, if you look at even Ben, to make your analysis, you should have even started with the 646 million. That's. We took to Parliament because we didn't take 2 billion worth of projects
Am I the
to
one who
Parliament.
approved the master facility?
But you are making.
I didn't approve it. It's Parliament that approved the 2 billion.
Bernard, you are let me land. You are making
2 billion.
analysis and you are informing the public and in fact even the international community. But the records are clear. Even if I'm looking through the ACEP report, I see that the figures they put out are not even accurate in terms of the Sinohydro transaction. You are putting the interest payments, and you said 2.8 to 30. That is in the master project support agreement. But if you are doing a report, that should be credible.
And we even picked the lowest value, which is not even consistent across the project.
Let me tell you.
So you haven't read the report.
Let me tell you. If you are doing such an analysis, that should be internationally accepted. You have to get accurate records. We went back to Parliament with a deferred payment agreement, where you would have exact amount of interest that will be charged. You have the commitment fee that you put in your thing. It's wrong. You put 1%, which is wrong. Management fee, you put 1%, which is wrong.
Okay.
They are all in the deferred payment agreement. So the analysis itself is flawed. And like I have said,
but you see, so far, he said 3 things. He said number 1, the level of production based on our port capacity and the volumes we produce.
Yes. So he
doesn't know whether even if we use raw. That's what I'm saying. You deal with those.
Let me respond to that.
Use the 640 million to prove that. If the 2 billion is wrong, use the 640.
I was building up to
numbers.
I was building up to that.
Yes, let's listen.
Let's say we have this amount of bauxite reserve, and like I've said earlier, we are not paying from only one stream. We are paying from. We can get revenue from bauxite, refinery, alumina, and even the downstream. So those analyses have been done. And if let's say we retrofit Valco, in fact, I'll go back to Valco and come back to
problem.
If we retrofit Valco for the 3 port lands to be effective, that should start. In fact, the agreement is nearly reached for Valco to be retrofitted starting from next year, and it will take us up to 2021, 2022, they are about to operate at full capacity, which will increase its existing 200 million metric ton capacity to 300 million metric ton capacity. And per the analysis that we have done and the investment that is coming in, Valco operating at full capacity should be making between 40 to 50 million US dollars a year. That is if it is operating at 300 capacity. That is after you did with the production cost and the investment cost and with the production and investment costs.
So this all is it profit or revenue?
It's profit. That's the profit. That's the analysis that we have done for Valco.
Operational profit.
Operational profit. That is if it's operate 100% capacity.
It will be good to throw out the numbers.
And
how much
increase
are you selling power to
I've just told you that due to the commitment to this project, power has been given to Valco at 3.5.
And it will be locked in.
And it's still making losses.
Yes, because Valco is operating at 20% capacity.
That's fair, that's true. I think it's right. If you read the report, they said because Valco was operating below capacity.
Yes, you don't expect a 20%.
So,
there's no way in the world
but quickly, I hope Valco start operating 100% capacity.
You say what? You hope?
When will Valco start operating 100% capacity?
Let's say by 2022, they should be operating at 100% capacity.
And by that time, the moratorium is about to end.
By that time, the moratorium is about to
end. So 40 to 50 million a year.
For the first projects that may have started.
40 to 50 million revenue.
Profit,
so operational profit.
Profit a year.
This profit before tax.
That's profit before tax, yeah.
Great.
That's profit before tax a year. And we are looking at, you see, when in ACEP's analysis, they made analysis on royalties and taxes that accrue to government. But if you look at the bauxite law, there is also an indication in the law that we should ensure that both the states and local private sector should have not less than 30% equity in the transaction, in the whole transaction, in the entire value chain. So government is not just giving out the concessions to people to invest and sit down and wait for royalties. We are going to have a stake in it. And if you look at how this thing was structured, it wasn't structured in a vacuum. We structured it based on the fact that we put GEADEC, that is the Bauxite Authority, we set it up and resourced it to have a very strong balance sheet. So when you transfer this about 1 billion metric ton worth of bauxite to Geotech, their balance sheet immediately shoots up. You transfer Valco to them. They are the 100% owners of Valco now. They have assets that they can leverage on to participate in the industry as equity. So we are looking at different scenarios for this. So we are not just going to rely on royalties and taxes.
So pause there. I'll take a short break. You've explained 40 to 50 million operational profits alone. When you come back, I want you to explain a bit more about the production side and the refinery and how you intend to pay the 600 million. And we'll read some of your questions as well. I think it's getting exciting. We're understanding the bauxite industry in less than an hour. Dr. Alolo, Boakye, and of course, my friend Darryl from AROCHA. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm hard pressed for time. So Dr. Alolo is here. We are still talking bauxite. If you are making $40 to $50 million per year for Valco, how many years are we going to pay back just the 600? Because we haven't even talked about taxes. You say we own maybe Valco is 100% owned by Guidec. Yeah. But your operational profit is 40 to 50 million on the refinery side. I still don't see I still don't see how you're going to pay back your 600 million within the period allotted.
Bernard, this is just one aspect of the chain that I've said. We are looking at Valco.
So you're done with Valco?
There is a possibility that, like I tell you, by January, February, we should have a clear picture on all the lines of investment. In fact, this is like an international competitive process that is going on. And about 40 international companies have put in bids, and they were shortlisted to 16. So by the time the process is over, we will know that we are having either 2 refineries or 2 smelters. There's a possibility that there will be an additional smelter to Valco. Valco, which will be operating at 300,000 metric ton annually, with an additional smelter. So there will be another revenue source from that as well. And we also have the refinery. Yeah, if it also comes on stream, there will be revenue source, and we have the bauxite at the minimum. If none of this even accrues by the time we are looking at 3.5 years moratorium.
How many years are we going to take to pay the 640? How many years have we been given?
It's 15 years. The entire transaction from the date of commencement of each of them, it will take 15 years. And we have 3.5 years moratorium.
So we are talking about 18.
We have 3 years moratorium and we have 12 years repayment period.
So if you have 15 to 2020, we are talking about 2035.
Thereabouts,
for you to finish. To finish. And you feel that within those 15 years.
In fact, when you look, if you say it even that way, you may have some of them going beyond 2035, depending on when it commences.
What's the interest on the loan?
It's 2.5 plus LIBOR. LIBOR plus 2.8 plus LIBOR. LIBOR plus 2.8.
I see.
On the transaction, it's not a loan. We shouldn't go there, but on the transaction, I would say.
But it's a loan.
Well, on the
just a quick digression. The Chinese should be very crazy to start building the Tamale interchange if they don't believe in the analysis this guy is doing. Why would China
we have
start
experience.
cutting a sword for Tamale interchange, confirming with putting blocks there, if they are not convinced that these people can pay back?
We have a history with China that we know how they start projects. And you can look at Guinea, you can look at even Ghana here. We have 3 billion promised, and we're able to access 1 billion. Look at the struggle.
We didn't access 1 billion. We accessed more than 1 billion. We accessed about 2 billion. But you see, sometimes
we accessed 2 billion.
We accessed about 2 billion.
To do what?
About almost 2 billion, 1.8 billion thereabouts.
It's 1 billion we accessed.
Even quite recently, we have 400 million under fishing landing sites, and we have Accra Intelligent Traffic Management System. That is under CDB. When we sign this transaction, sometimes we have to educate the public well. It's not like the project is coming in today. It takes time to come.
Let me have my space. Let me have my space.
No, but I was even going to respond to what...
When we signed the CDB 3 billion, we listed the project we wanted to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay? We had timelines for the gas infrastructure.
This under mills?
Yes. The timeline for the development of the gas infrastructure, which was crucial for the power sector. And that was part of the reason why we went to a long period of doing so, because we were waiting for the gas to come. When the project started, the CDB said, bring this, bring that. Meanwhile, they had pumped some small money in there. Bring this, bring that. It took us 5 years to deliver the project.
So the fact that you said that Tamale doesn't mean that?
It doesn't mean that it's here.
So you have to... No, I totally disagree with you.
No, I mean that's your option.
When it comes
but
to,
you know, we didn't get a full 3 billion. You are aware. We did get some of that.
We got about 2 billion,
yes.
almost 2 billion, and that 1 billion is still available for government to access.
Since Mills died,
You see, when you sign these transactions, it's not like, okay, today, like Sinohydro, when we signed Sinohydro, we never said that we are getting the 2 billion worth of infrastructure today.
But you listed the projects in the budget.
Yes, that's why I said what we took to, just look at what we took to Parliament.
We take a list of projects to Parliament.
We took 600.
Communities are waiting for the project. Don't say that it can be 10 years later.
270.
No, nobody does that.
Bernard, let me make something clear.
Yes.
We took 2 billion envelope worth of projects. That is the master project support agreement.
So
to
what
Parliament.
time frame did you have
Listen, to Parliament. And subsequently, we went to Parliament with only 646 million worth of projects. That is what has been approved by Cabinet and Parliament. So that is what we are working on now. Until we take the remaining project, we haven't even taken the remaining project, so we can't be waiting for the money to come. So it's a process that we are going through. We didn't take 2 billion worth of projects. So communities that are waiting for 2 billion worth of projects.
You have 2 minutes to end. Tell me how you've explained part of this, but you just address the issue of the production and the refinery, because it takes more than 2 years to build the refinery. So I just want to understand. You said Valco will do 30-40 million profit or whatever, but I'm still struggling with some of the numbers in terms of the reserves and how much you can produce within the period.
But like I have said, we have different streams of revenue. So at the minimum, if the refinery is not even in place, we have Valco and we have the mining. The mining can start in the next couple of months. So, and mining definitely will start next year. So as the construction of the refinery.
You should be worried.
The mining definitely will start. The mining definitely will start next year. So as the refinery, and we have these revenue streams coming from all these sources, and that's how we have structured the transaction in such a way that it will be done in phases.
Let me read a few questions. Quick, Bernard, I'm surprised at Alolo. What did his government tell us about CBD loan? Amount for Jesse Boakye from Avle South. Listen to Dr. Alolo on the 2 billion bauxite. I'm fully convinced with his explanation that Ghana is on track to utilize available resources to transform the economy. This is what you call value for money. Thank you. Bernard, please ask Darryl, if you do not mine bauxite, how else can we use Etiwa and Yinehin to generate revenues to support national development? 30 seconds. Assume you don't touch Etiwa, is it possible to generate revenue from Etiwa at all?
Well, Etiwa is a watershed. Every asset in this country can be exploited for other options. So we think that there are several ways you can utilize Etiwa. And one of the things we have already discussed and also assessed for feasibility is already the ecotourism potential. This is something that we realize that if we really invest in a green economy within that Etiwa enclave, already we will be seeing more than 200,000 visitors coming into this landscape, which is also going to generate a lot of revenue for local people and all those within the value chain.
Darryl Bossu, Deputy Executive Director of the AROCHA. Boakye, Executive Director of Africa Center
are we done?
Policy, yes. Yeah. The leading think tank in energy. I need to say this. You are 10 years old next year.
Next year, yes.
Congratulations.
We celebrate with you.
Yes. Dr. Mutaka Alolo is technical and economic advisor to the Vice President. Clearly, we've just like the bauxite, we've only scratched the surface of the mountain. We'll build the refinery and do the smelting later. Hopefully, you've understood a bit about the bauxite conversation. Thank you for being on the show. My name is Bernard Avle. Have a great evening. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video on City TV's YouTube channel. Subscribe for more videos on The Point of View. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you.